So for as long as I can remember, I've always known that there was an issue with my career in terms of the progression and my experiences. And I feel like I internalized a lot of the shame that came with that, the shame of feeling different, the shame that my career wasn't progressing in a manner that I thought was slow. It was progressing in a manner that I thought was slow, in a manner that, kind of just felt different from what my peers were experiencing. So my career life has, been one facet of my life that I've always sought healing for, just wanting to know why I felt different, why some of my experiences were different from my peers, or maybe I was sensitive to some of the things I was experiencing, but it felt odd, if I'm being honest. It felt quite odd. So I think about a year ago, or maybe 2 years ago, it led me on this path to seeking healing. It led me on this path to wanting to know how to recover my career, and not just recovering my career, but like in changing my positioning, in changing my posture, like my favorite neurointuitive would say, in changing my posture, in just wanting to heal, right? Heal from all of the disappointment, heal from the trauma, and just, reclaim what I believe, my career should be, which it should be fun, it should be pleasurable to me, at least. It should be, something that I feel I deserve. And yeah, so in this video, I'm going to share this principle of self-compassion that unlocked my healing journey in my career life and how it has helped me thus far. So welcome to my channel. Welcome back. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. My name is Ekam, your favorite intuitive cheerleader, or I should say ambassador, whichever one works for you. And on this channel, I share tips, insights, and some lessons that I have learned in connecting with my intuitive self in hopes to activate, Black women. My focus on this channel is Black women, women who look like me, in activating you to connect more deeply with your instinctual self, because I believe that connecting with our instinctual selves is the key to our freedom, is the key to our to our healing. It's the key to just living a free life, just ultimately living a free life, ultimately connecting with our healing, ultimately reclaiming our creativity. And that is my mission on here, okay? To share those tips, to share those insights and lessons I have learned on my own journey in connecting with my instinctual self, in reclaiming my creativity, and in healing myself. So if that sounds like something that interests you, and if you want to hear more of, how I unlocked self-compassion to heal my career life, I would really like you to stick around, and also to subscribe, to share my video with someone, with another Black woman that you feel would benefit from this. And yeah, leave me a comment, right? Leave me a comment if any of the things I say today resonates with you. I would love to read from you. Okay, so back to the video around self-compassion and how it unlocked my healing in my career life. Okay. So 2 years ago, I was working in an investment bank as a data privacy professional. So I'm a data privacy professional, and I help companies, manage their clients' personal data and the journey through, the company's systems. So I did that when I first moved to Canada. So I moved to Canada in 2022 and I pivoted my career into data privacy immediately in the investment bank. But then what I found out was that that environment was not conducive for who I am. And I'm very sensitive to things like microaggressions. I'm very sensitive to being singled out. I'm very sensitive to being treated as other. Like I'm very sensitive to those things. At first, I did not understand what was going on, right? Because I came from a Nigerian corporate setting, and the Nigerian corporate setting it's a whole different story. That's a different beast. But this was more layered because, it's a predominantly white institution and all of that. And all of the nonsense that comes with that, like microaggressions, bias, racism, and all of that, right? So at first I didn't really understand what was going on. So I internalized a lot of that, right? I was, wondering, why am I, not conducting myself like my peers do? Why am I being singled out for this reason? I had a VP one time give feedback that she didn't think I was confident, and when I heard comments like that, I always wondered what the aim of those comments were, like especially comments that seek to cut you down as opposed to build you up, or as opposed to even giving constructive feedback, like, okay, if you're not confident, these are the things I feel, you should do. These are the ways, I feel you should develop, or this, just giving those kind of constructive feedback, or even mentoring the person if you feel that's called to give that kind of critique. So those are some of the things I experienced in that environment, and, how I just internalized that shame. And it made me, honestly, it chipped at my confidence a little bit, right? Because it just made me feel like I did not belong in the environment, right? You hear people make all these promises but not really come through on them, right? So it just didn't set me up for success, basically. It didn't, that environment did not help me develop into the professional that I thought I deserved to be, right? It was just more microaggressions and me internalizing that. It wasn't until I started therapy that my therapist kind of pointed out some behaviors and how I can, counter back. It required me asserting myself and, standing up for myself and advocating for myself. But then the problem I found with that advice, even though I completely encourage it too, and I had to do that recently with a manager, I feel like that is also draining in itself, especially when you don't really understand what is going on. you know, you don't understand why you're in a meeting with other colleagues and then someone feels the need to single you out, to caution you in front of a peer. Like, you don't really understand what's going on. You don't understand that that's microaggression, but you know deep down inside your body that something is off. So when I started that therapy session, and the lady kind of walked me through some of the modalities and strategies I could use to, assert myself in those kind of environments. I mean, I did try some of them, but ultimately that environment left me so fatigued. And so it led me to seek out other modalities, right? So earlier in the video, I mentioned my favorite neuro-intuitive. Her name is Kili Miracle. I signed up to her healing program and got some audio tapes around recovering your personal power. And that kind of kickstarted that journey for me in terms of building myself up spiritually, because I felt like that was a missing link for me. Connecting with my instincts, right? Connecting with my instincts and building myself up. And then that was one modality I used. I also, read books and I listened to some teachings, that shed wisdom around healing. And what struck me most was this concept of self-compassion, right? Because earlier I said that I had internalized all of that shame. I had, I was really beating myself up, trying to understand why I was being treated differently. I mean, I understand that bias also plays a huge part. I understood that, but it just kind of felt like it was a unique experience for me, and there was nobody else around me that was experiencing that, right? At least in my department. So I came across that concept of self-compassion actually in this. I thought I brought the book out with me. Okay, yeah, it's right here. This wonderful book, Women Who Run with the Wolves. It's actually very popular as well. So I got this book like a year ago, and I've read through it. I'm actually reading through it a second time. And I came across this concept of self-compassion that the author, discusses, and how self-compassion is really the key to like allowing our instinctual self to help us, right? And just like we have our physical bodies and we have a wound, just like I got this cut, I don't know if you can see this cut. It's completely healed now, but you can see this scar. So my cats, kind of scratched my thumb here. And I tell you, when I had to drop everything to attend to this one because it was peppering me so bad. So I rubbed some balm on it, right, and attended to the wound. So much like, that process of admitting that there's something hurting me and attending to that, she encourages us to do the same with our spiritual lives, right? That self-compassion is really that vehicle that allows us to admit where we are wounding inside, right? Allows us to admit what is hurting us, allows us to admit, where we feel a lot of pain and angst. And I mean, at first it was kind of difficult for me to do because I thought it was my fault. But then also thanks to other communities, this is why it's so important to get into community, right? Because it helps you see that you're not alone in your experience, right? Because at the time in my workplace, I thought I was the only one experiencing this kind of things where I'm being singled out and where I'm being kind of like, it was almost like a humiliation thing, where I'm not given that due respect as one should be given, as a professional in that space. So it was kind of hard for me to admit that it was anybody else's fault but mine. Not until I found some communities on YouTube like Marissa Price's, like Rashida Dow, like Stephanie Perry, like Dr. Kimani, all these other wonderful women on YouTube that are speaking up and speaking out about the unique challenges that Black women face in the workplace. I can't remember the Coffee No Cream lady, but she's also another fantastic resource on YouTube. And she interviews lots of amazing women that come on there and share their own coffee no cream stories. So listening to all these people and listening to them share their stories really struck me because it sounded very familiar, right? And then it helped me understand that was not my fault. All the things I experienced were not my fault. It's actually part of a systemic issue. It's a capitalism on steroids. It's bias on steroids. It's everything on steroids, And this is how these systems, work. They are not conducive for people like me, especially as I am neurodivergent. I didn't want to get into that. But then it's actually not, conducive for people like me. And honestly, listening to those wonderful women kind of helped me externalize that problem, right? Like it helped me understand that was not something I could control, right? That was not something that I should hold on to as my fault. This is actually not my fault. This is their fault. It is the system's fault. It is the structures in place that are perpetuating this kind of vicious cycle that makes you feel low, that makes you feel like you don't have anything to offer, anything valuable to offer. That's what the system is there to do. So honestly, hearing them say this really helped to facilitate my healing journey because it helped me realize that, okay, this is actually what is at play, right? And also reading this book helped, and especially the concept of self-compassion. And I'm just going to read a little a little statement from the book on page 167. And I'm kind of paraphrasing the first line here. It says no woman, but I'll say no person. Okay. So no person, no love, no attention heals such a wound. Only self-compassion, only attendance to one's own wounded states. So much like I gave the analogy about, your physical body being in pain, having wounds and admitting to that and tending to that until you feel better, until you're well. Same concept applies to our spiritual bodies, right? To our spiritual selves. We have to admit where we are hurting, right? I had to admit where I was hurting in my career life. I had to admit that I did not really, I'm not really enjoying my experiences in these corporate spaces. I had to admit where it hurt. I had to admit the wound that I felt. And it wasn't until I did that, like immediately I did that, immediately I admitted to this wound by journaling, by praying, by just even speaking out loud. Immediately I did that, like I felt like opportunities kind of opened up. I took my first sabbatical ever for 6 months. I opened up to the idea of owning a business, of starting a business. And that's something I'm currently working on. I reclaimed my creativity. I took up sewing. I learned how to sew. And I sewed so many wonderful things. The tote bags you see behind me, I made them. Things I had never done before. Learned how to make dresses. I learned how to make quilts. I learned how to make tote bags. I learned how to make so many things. I reclaimed all of this, and that opened up more opportunities to me in the sense that I could even turn that into a career if I wanted. Like, so many options just opened up to me. Even the concept of, starting a digital entrepreneurship business. I'm actually meeting with someone on Tuesday to kind of help walk me through that. I attended so many business workshops like towards the end of last year, just kind of familiarize myself and expose myself to that concept of being a business owner. And I would say that even the desire to climb the corporate ladder has dissipated. That desire to want to hustle, to be in corporate, to want to get up to the highest rung of the ladder, it just kind of melted away. That desire melted away. I did not, because I felt like that's where the angst came in. Like, oh, I want to reach this. Like, corporate is all I know, This is all I was socialized to do. This is what I went to school to do. So I have to do it. But just experiencing all these things and being in community with these women and having books like this to read and listening to teachings and wisdom, like the neurointuitive lady, like it just helped reconnect me back to my instinctual self so that I could really sit down and admit the wound and then sit down to say, what is more? Like, can you show me what else is open for me to do? Can you show me what other path I can take? And it wasn't until I did that all of these options and opportunities came flooding open, right? So I would say that has been my journey so far in healing or in applying self-compassion in healing my career life. That has been my journey in just trying to fashion a new path for myself, in just taking it easy on myself, in having sympathy for the things that I faced, and also in taking action in a new direction, right? Taking action to design the kind of life I want to live, the kind of life I want to experience, because I feel like I'm deserving of that life. And I will do whatever I have to do. Well, not whatever I have to do, but I will, heal as best as I can. I will go on that healing journey. I will face my shadow self. I will do what needs to be done so that I can embody, the full self, embody my full self, embody, the kind of career I want to have, embody, just embody all the wisdom I know my instinctual self has to share with me. And that is exactly what I want for you as well. And I also want to leave this activation prompt with you. You know, what facet of your life could use some of your compassion, right? What facet of your life could you admit the wounding, to? Like, what is the wounding? What is the wound in your life that you need to admit to, right? Because I believe that once that happens, I bet you your instinctual self will pick that up and begin to facilitate the healing, because that's what our instinctual self is really there to do. It's really there to support us. It's there to, give us wisdom, to guide us, to protect us, and to deliver to us all of the amazingness that we deserve. Okay. But you also need to work in tandem with your instinctual self. You have to, co-create with it. You have to surrender to it. You have to allow it to come in as well. So yeah, I'm so excited for, your own journey as well. I'm excited for, where this would lead you to, because I believe it will lead you to, so many amazing paths. You would have lots of options to pick from. And I'm just so joyful. Okay. I'm so joyful. I'm so happy for all of the change, because I believe that we deserve to live the best lives. I believe that we deserve to, live a life that feels free to us, live a life that just feels delicious to us, because we really deserve it. We deserve that. Okay. And yeah, let me know in the comments if you have any, thoughts on what I've shared today, or if you have any wisdom to share as well. I am always, looking forward to read from you, to hear your thoughts on the things I share. And yeah, please share this video with another Black woman that you think would benefit from hearing, my story or what I've shared today. And yeah, I can't wait to read from you. Once again, my name is Ekom, and I am your intuitive cheerleader, your intuitive ambassador. And yeah, I am so, so glad to have you here. I am so glad to be in community with you. Thank you so much for all your support and love. I love you so much. Thank you. Take good care. Until my next video. Bye.